The big topic on Instagram this week that I kind of did a little rant on Insta Story was from some questions I got about my opinion on these videos that come out from YouTube bloggers that have attempted vegan diets and claim that it failed them. And you'll see a lot of clickbait titles, things like this is why a vegan diet failed me, this is what a vegan diet did to me is a really popular one. And I think that there's one major reason why a lot of people are unsuccessful on vegan diets, and I'm going to save that one till the end because I want to give it the most time. But first, I just want to say that if you've seen me talk about this topic before in podcasts or in any videos or on Instagram, I do believe that human beings are omnivores. Even when we look at our distant relatives and the great apes that eat plant-based diets, and we share a lot of the digestive anatomy or the fingers, the teeth, we share a lot of the physiology with plant and fruit-eating animals. So the human body definitely favors a plant-based diet, but even our distant relatives do eat a very small amount of insects and small animals, and they're omnivorous animals that have a very small percentage of animal protein in the diet. I do believe, however, that human beings can, especially with farming and the abundance of food that we have, live successfully and thrive on a vegan diet. And a lot of people know that I have for 25 years now. A lot of my colleagues have. Dr. Fred Bishy's been eating a primarily raw food vegan diet for over 50 years. People know that I steer a lot of my clients into plant-based diets. So they wanted to know what my opinion was on all these videos that come out and why people fail on a vegan diet. And there's a lot of things that we need to kind of look at when we dissect this topic. First thing is that when we're watching YouTubers blog about things, there's a lot of variables. How long were they eating that way? What types of diets were they eating? A lot of them don't have a basic understanding of nutrition or detoxification. So really what we're getting is we're getting a play-by-play of somebody's inexperience. So we just want to always watch these videos and take them with a grain of salt and understand that there's a lot of variables that are happening. The first mistake that I see a lot of people make when they get into a vegan diet is they will go from a standard American processed food diet into a processed food vegan diet. So I've met a lot of vegans, professionally and friends of mine, that don't eat vegetables. And they're eating vegan macaroni and cheese, vegan croissants, vegan donuts. They're going to coffee shops in the morning and getting processed coconut milk in a coffee and starting their day that way. Any diet that's built like that is going to have the same results as their standard American counterpart. It's not going to be successful long term. Another issue I see is, and this is a smaller percentage of people, but there's people that get into some of the old literature about raw foods and fruitarianism and spirituality, and they get into these fantasy diets. So they get into these diets where they think they're going to live on oranges for 6 months to 8 months, and they're basically eating very nutritionally deficient diets that they're basing on some very old writing, and they're never successful. I've even noticed that there's like a big upswing in breatharianism on Instagram and on the internet and on YouTube videos. People are trying to be breatharians and just live on light and sun energy and stuff like that. I've never seen anything like that successful. I have seen people eat very low-calorie diets and receive tremendous benefit, but the breatharian thing or living on oranges or one food for years at a time, never seen that work, so those people almost always fail. But the biggest issue, and the reason I think 95% of people that attempt vegan diets and are not successful is that they do not understand the process of detoxification. It is the most poorly understood concept in the world of nutrition, and it is the most important. So what happens is when somebody leaves a diet, and most people do go from some type of standard American diet that was not affecting their body in a very positive way, and then they get into a vegan diet, and they're usually improving their diet. I mean, they're usually starting to eat salads and juicing and eating vegetables to some level. It's varying degrees for different people as to how intensely they approach a whole foods plant-based diet, but it's usually always an improvement. And if someone's diet is an improvement enough and they do it consistently, they go into a state of detoxification. So all of those old foods that were leaving residues in their body start to dissolve, break up, and release. And in that process, which can take a couple of years sometimes, they may not feel very well. And a lot of people panic when that starts to happen. This is where my work comes in. This is how I got into colon hydrotherapy and infrared saunas and fasting and opening up the channels of elimination to help get all of the old waste out of the body and encourage that process and to move through that process. Another thing that happens is while their body's detoxifying, if they're consistently eating a more nutritious diet, their body will recognize the quality of that food. It will recognize that it is superior to what it was built on in the past, and it will break down that old tissue and it will rebuild the body with that superior nutrition, with those superior building blocks. So especially for a lot of guys, they start to lose weight very quickly, especially if they were muscular guys that did protein shakes and a lot of animal protein, and they exercise a lot. Now they're not feeling great, they're going through detoxification, they're losing weight, and they start to panic and they go, uh-oh, and they associate their state with the diet and not with a process. That is the biggest mistake. It is a process that needs to be completed. Now, I don't mean if someone's experiencing nutritional deficiencies and in a dangerous state of health from making rapid changes to their diet that they need to just see their way through it and, and continue on a path that's not working for them. But for most people, it is a process. I had to go through that process personally. I lost about 60 pounds in 3 to 4 months when I first got into this. My diet was 40 ounces of Old English, lots of McDonald's, lots of pizza. I used to eat boxes of macaroni and cheese. I hardly ate any vegetables. And then I got into a vegan diet, and I met Dr. Fred Bishy, and I got into a whole foods plant-based diet where I was juicing and eating salads and steaming vegetables and eating whole grains, and it was a dramatic transition for me, and I did it very quickly because I was young. I was 19 when I did it. I was super excited about it, and I started to get fevers and body aches and things popping out of my skin. I dropped 60 pounds in a 3 to 4 month period. There was a lot of stuff happening with me. My mom was like, what's going on with you? Are you malnourished? She really thought it was wacky. This was 1995 too. So it wasn't like today where we had all these plant-based doctors and athletes and, it felt like a safe thing to do. Back then it seemed a little bit on the fringe. And luckily, Dr. Fred Bishy, he explained to me that I was in this process and I needed to see this process through. And interestingly enough, I've gained at least 25, 30 pounds back of that, mostly muscle, and I eat probably a third of the food I did when I first started doing that. So, and it's 25 years later. So it's truly a process we need to get through. Most YouTubers doing it anywhere from 1 to 5 years, and they're talking about that transition process, and they're not actually talking about what a vegan diet they're not actually talking about the results of a vegan diet. They're talking about the process of improving their chemistry through a vegan diet. Very misunderstood. I think most people, if they get through that process, they can succeed on plant-based diets. Now, here's just one little thing I'm going to throw in there and add. Interestingly, when people feel that a plant-based diet has failed them, they go off and radically into the other direction. So I've seen people go from vegan to carnivore diets, from vegan to paleo diets. Really, if someone's truly having issues connecting all the dots nutritionally or just cannot feel balanced, really what they need to do is you could probably add in animal protein anywhere from 1 to 3 times a week. That can be in the form of egg yolks or I'm an ethical vegan. I don't eat any animals or meat or anything like that. But if somebody could really felt that they were having an issue, you could add in a little bit of animal protein and still eat 95% vegan and get all the benefits of that plant food and eat a very small amount of organic animal protein. So we really don't have to go from one extreme to the other. And I notice on YouTube, that's what a lot of people seem to be doing. It doesn't follow any logic. It makes really good internet content and everybody's watching and talking about it, but it's not the best approach for longevity or success.